What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, good people? Coach Hightower with the Real Man Talk. And today we're going to be talking about peace and happiness. As you know, there's so much that's going on in the world right now, and many people are unhappy, are sad, are just battling challenges. And at the Real Man Talk, we talk about health and wellness, mindset, and financial literacy. So today, Friday, June 10th, I'm coming to you talking about health and wellness because it's about your mindset as well. But we go tackle both of them. And I got a special guest, man, that's going to come on here and that's going to give you 3 tips. So you want to stay to the end because he's going to be giving you 3 tips on how to manage your peace and happiness. To those that follow us, if you would please share the channel, share this video, and definitely if you know someone that's battling depression or just having some struggles in life, share this video with them because I think it's going to be very beneficial. We do realize many people don't have health insurance. Many people don't have time to go seek mental health and mental therapy. So this is the next best thing. It's what we have right here, the Real Man Talk. And I'm going to have my friend, longtime buddy, Mr. Encourager, that's going to be coming up and going to be giving some tips. So we go just be dialoguing, man. On the Real Man Talk, we talk about things like this, but we usually have a lot of informal conversations that others can relate to. And usually within those conversations, man, there's a lot of gems and nuggets that's dropped. So I hope this is a blessing to you. Let's go ahead and get into it. And let me bring up, once again, a good friend of mine I've been knowing for a long time. Has always encouraged me and encouraged others. Single father, great father, great husband, as well as our retired military veteran, as well as many other titles that he has. But I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you everything about him. Till then, let me bring up none other than Mr. Encourager, Greg Short.
Hey.
What's up, brother Greg?
What's going on? God bless you, man. Thank you for the invitation to come on your platform. It's always a pleasure, and I'm encouraged and enthusiastic to support my brother and the things that he's doing to bring something to the public, some knowledge, just not anything, but some knowledge-based information that can help us each other build the village that we call ourselves being a part of.
Man, I want to thank you for that because I was listening to one of your posts yesterday as I was driving. I think I was going to the gym or leaving the gym, and you was talking about peace and happiness. And I said, hold up, man. I ain't had this brother on my show, which I had you on the show. It was about something else, but I ain't had him in my show in a minute. I need to get him back on the show. And as you was preaching your message, it actually resonated with me because I have many conversations throughout the week with various people, mainly men, in regards to challenges they're going through. And I just thought your message is on point. Matter of fact, I'm going to give y'all a sneak preview into what he was talking about. Let me go to that, bring that up right quick so people can hear this amazing message.
For us, peace is where we find our strength. Peace is where we find a moment of solitude to clear our heads, to get our thoughts together, to realize that we are not at war, but we are on the road to success. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't going to be struggles, there isn't going to be battles. There are just always struggles and battles in life. But when you have peace, you have a plan for your success. And I'll say this, and I hope that you remember this. You and I are responsible for the peace we bring into our lives. God bless you, heaven smile upon you, and as always, stay healthy in God.
Wow. Hey, I must ask, are you a pastor, minister? What is your title, man? Because you seem like you was about to go in.
Well, I'm just a man of God. I don't, title don't thrill me. Some call me pastor, some call me elder, some call me minister, but most of all, I'm just proud to be called a child of God and be able to expound on the word of God from a point where I believe that it's about building and not destroying. You know, I think that it's been preached in the pulpit for so long time when we talk about destruction, you know, and how if you don't do this, this is going to happen. You don't do that, that's going to happen. Well, what happens is that we actually push people away from the word of God and want to know the word of God because we don't give them anything constructive to go on.
Okay. So let me ask you, what got in your spirit to want you to give that message yesterday?
Well, I mean, we get so busy and tangled up in these affairs of life that we don't take time to really understand what it is we're missing in our life because we're so busy running to and fro that we don't really have a clear mindset. We become automated to the system and we respond to that system because that's what we're trained to do. And so when you're seeking peace in your life, you're seeking a place of solitude where you can have a mindset where you and God can converse without the stimulation of the world.
I like that, man. I like that. And the main thing that you said a couple of things in there that caught my attention, but the main thing that you said that got my attention was you said you're responsible for your own peace and happiness. Talk about that, man.
Well, yeah, true. Because we like to push ownership off on many things that we do. We like to push ownership off. We complain about we're in a bad situation. We complain that things aren't going right in our life, and we start pointing the finger of blame at everything. But at the end of the day, it was our responsibility, and we're accountable for it because of the choices that we made to make these things happen in our life. We serve a purpose in these negative things happening in our life, and so if you don't take ownership of that, then you can't possibly find peace and happiness within because you're at war within yourself.
And I think that's so important, man. One thing I told my wife, man, I said, I married you because the peace that you bring in my life. But once again, peace and happiness is a self thing. And I think sometimes people get caught up on looking for other people or other things to make them happy versus dwelling in yourself and finding out what it takes for you to be happy.
And that's very true. So what happens a lot of times, you know, we're in relationships, whether it's a marriage of whatever you want to call a marriage or just a boyfriend, girlfriend, however you want to coin that phrase. We look at that other person to provide something for us that we should be providing for ourselves, because how do you know what makes me at happy? How do you know what makes me at peace if we never have that conversation with one another about what peace and happiness is?
Amen. I agree with you. So let me ask you this, brother. How do you, and I'm kind of all over the place because I want to try to get these points in, but how did you get the title Mr. Encourager before we keep going? That's the first thing I should have asked you.
Well, that title came from just being me and who God has allowed me to be. You know, I've always been the one to look at life in a favorable onset. You know, from the time that we were both in the military and we both served together, a lot of people will put people down. My outlook was that I wanted to uplift people. I wanted to give them something that get them through the day. And sometimes you'd be surprised how small it is. Sometimes it's just saying good morning to someone. Sometimes it's just saying have a nice day. Sometimes it's just a friendly smile. But those things are encouraging to other people because you never know what that person sitting to your left or your right may be going through. And just someone that took the time out to acknowledge them means the world.
Brother Greg, you'd be surprised, man. I'm glad you made that statement. You'd be surprised how a simple smile or a simple hello can change somebody's mood. I never forget, man, in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and me and this guy, we're great friends to this day, but this dude came inside Subway, man, and he had this look on his face like he was about to rob the place, man. And I said, let me just speak to the brother. So I'm like, hey, man, hello, how you doing? He looked at me like he wanted to say something, but he just looked at me like, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm good, man. How's your day going? And he said, not too good. So we engaged in conversation, man, and we ended up talking for about 45 minutes to an hour, man. But he told me that was the turning point that he was going to make a decision what he was going to do because he was thinking about doing something that wasn't going to be good. And he said, man, just for you just saying hello to me and talking to me changed everything, man, because my mindset was, he told me it was fucked up, man, and I don't know what I was about to do, so I stopped here to get something to eat. And if I wouldn't have stopped here and gotten nothing to eat, man, I probably was going to make a decision that I probably was going to regret, man.
And you know, and that happens more frequently than we think.
Yes.
Because, you know, society tells us we should be standoffish.
Right.
If you go back into the 60s and the 70s, more people knew their neighbor. The neighbors helped to raise their kids as well as you helped to raise their kids. And we had more of a emotional connection and a physical as well as a mental connection on what was good for the neighborhood. So we looked out for each other. You look at today's society, most people barely know who's their neighbor. You know, you may pass them and that's about it. But if you ask, well, what's my neighbor's name? We really don't know.
That, yeah. And I would tell you that you're right. Because on my street, I know probably everybody except for one or two people. That's on my street, though. But most people don't know their neighbors, man. And once again, where I live at, we're very protective about who comes on the street. But most people don't know their neighbors, don't speak to their neighbors. And as he stated back then, it takes a village, man, to raise a kid as well as a family. And I think we have really gotten away from it, that we're so self-centered, individualized, that we don't even have that relationship. We don't even have that connection. And because of that, man, with social media has been a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
To the point that many people are socially awkward, don't know how to communicate unless it's through a text or through DMs. But in person, we're slowly losing that communication skill.
You know, and you and I talked about this. There's communication and then there's effective communication.
Yes.
And so what I try to tell people is that when you're texting, that is ineffective because it leaves it up to self-interpretation. You may send me a text meaning one thing, but because of what's going on in my life and what's happening with me, I may interpret it as being a hostile message, and that's not what you were saying at all. So then it puts you and I at odds because I'm like, why are you texting me this crap? You know, but if I take the time to pick up the phone like you took the time to do a text, now text has its place, but why not communicate verbally? I can hear the emotions in your voice, you know, and we can come to understanding, right? Communication. So you have a sender, you have a receiver, you have syntax, and then the most important thing is you have feedback. Is this what you're really saying to me? Now we're having a conversation, not a speech.
That is so important, man. I talk to my kids about that. They'll be like, Dad, I text you or I sent this to you. I'm like, okay, if it's something of importance, please don't text me. Call me. I'm one of the people, I want to establish that communication. Then we can text later on. But if it's that important, call me. Let's at least get the dialogue out the way and then we can go back and forth because as you stated, it could be misinterpreted. Matter of fact, I had a client today, man. We was pretty much going back and forth through email. Based off the email, his tone was kind of somewhat dismissive and guarded. I met the guy. The guy's probably one of the most genuine guys I ever met. But once again, we're talking about social media and we're communicating versus on the phone. So I think it's very important, man, that we have to get back to some of them skills in regards to effective communication. Rest in peace to Brother Kevin Samuels that, was trying to bridge the gap between men and women, definitely the black men and women. And also he caught a lot of flack just based off his delivery. But one thing he was able to point out is how the communication don't flow properly amongst men and women. We see things completely different or we interpret it different. Matter of fact, my wife and I, we had a miscommunication earlier. People see things differently, man. Depends on how you communicate. It may not come off the way you want it to come off. And depends on the receiver, how they receive that message. So that point you made, brother, was very on point. How can we navigate those challenges, man, and have more effective communication?
The one thing is to realize is that all of us, whether male or female, we interpret things differently. And so to be honest with yourself, to be able to express what it is you're feeling without trying to sugarcoat it, because sometimes what we do, we sugarcoat the message just to get someone to swallow it, just to have them regurgitate it later, and it has no substance to it. So sometimes you're trying to be abrupt or harsh on somebody, but the reality of the conversation is that it's needed to bring that point to an individual of what you're trying to say, or your emotional state at the time, how you feel about a certain topic.
Interesting. Now, let me ask you this. Based off where you come from, or based off your community, do some people respond differently to certain communication styles?
Well, yes, they do. So the thing you have to understand is that we all have different backgrounds. Very few of us grew up with the same backgrounds. It's just like in a marriage. You can't take two people from different houses, put them in a single house, and expect there not to be any friction. But it doesn't mean that we can't communicate. Well, how our communication becomes better and what we do with each other is in being honest with each other. I need to be honest with you. I need to let you know what it is I'm feeling without trying to hide it, because I'm in fear it's going to hurt your feelings. Sometimes we need our feelings hurt to face the reality of the situation that's in front of us.
Okay, you went down a rabbit hole that I wasn't trying to go down, but let's go down that rabbit hole now that you open it up, Mr. Encourager. As you stated, and I had this show several times in regards to men expressing their feelings. When it comes to men expressing their feelings, majority of the men, and it's based off of consensus and stats as well as meetings with other men, they feel like they're not being heard. And when they express their feelings, it turns into an argument. Can you dive into that and give us more insight into that? And how can the men still address their feelings without feeling ridiculed?
Well, the first thing is that when you look at this and you're talking with that significant person, that other person in your life, you have to be upfront. What happens a lot with men is that we hold up to the last moment. We don't talk about the initial onset of it. We allow things to pile up, and then we begin to express our feelings. The problem with that is that when we express our feelings, we express it, whether we realize it or not, with a little hostility in there. Right. Because now we have allowed ourselves to be pushed in a corner. So, right, if you push an animal into a corner, his first mechanism is what? Is defense and to be able to survive, the perseverance of life. So he's going to do everything he can to get out of that situation. So when we talk with other people, we have to realize, don't allow the stuff to pile up. Because when you allow it to pile up, the rational thinking goes out the window and the emotional side takes over, and that provokes the hostility and the anger.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Encourager, is based off your understanding, your observation, most men wait until everything festers up, and then they decide to voice their feelings. And when they voice their feelings, it comes off as anger versus them expressing hurt or pain.
And that's true. And the other side of that is that society teaches us men that we're soft.
Right.
If we express our emotions. And so we buy into that. So in order to not be soft, I want to be hard. But in order for me to be hard, that means I got to be rigid. In order for me to be rigid, I'm going to be abrupt. I'm going to be harsh in what I'm saying, because I want to prove a point to me first, but to you that what I'm saying is what I mean.
Okay. But I would tell you, man, I think the tides are turning, because what I'm observing, more men are expressing themselves compared to, 20 years ago. When we came up, and you and I both came through the military, we have to be very cautious of how we express our feelings. But looking at our kids that we have raised and looking at some of the younger men, it seems like they don't have no problem expressing their feelings.
And this is true. So I tell people this a lot, and you and I talked about this earlier this week. There are times that I tell my wife, I don't like you right now. I love you, right, but I don't like you. And what I mean by that, I don't like the actions you're taking. I don't like the words that you are telling me. I don't like what's going on. I still love you, and we have to be able to dissect that and not keep it, congealed together and mix love with life. I cannot like your actions and still love you.
So true. And I think that's just a mutual respect and a mutual understanding, because we're not going to always agree on everything, but it's very important that we still respect that person's feelings and opinions, And sometimes we just got to agree to disagree and keep moving on.
And that's true. You know, in a relationship, the one thing that we often forget, communication, compromise. Big issue is compromise. One person always wants to feel bigger than the other for whatever reason. But if we are building this one thing together and we're putting this household together, does it really matter who's doing what as long as we're both doing it together?
Well, it depends on the person, but I agree with you on that, especially if you're building together. But you do have to have a clear roadmap and vision to how you building whatever you're building. If not, you just both be building and you'll still be running into challenges as you're building that can be avoided. But it goes back to, as you stated, the effective communication and also being acceptance of the other person expressing their feelings. I would tell you right now, sometimes it's not easy for people just to express their feelings. And when they do that, I think we need to really don't take the defense, but just kind of humble ourselves and just see where they're coming from. From our conversation, just talking to various people, sometimes we don't see the lenses from other people's views. And as you stated in the conversation, we all have different experiences. We have different backgrounds. We come from different places. So sometimes the other person may be seeing things that you don't have no idea how they seen it that way. So I want to encourage you all, man, just try to take a step back and sometimes put yourself in the other person's shoes and see why do they see what they see. And I think from there we can come to a better understanding. Don't mean they're right. It don't mean they're wrong. It just is a different way of viewing things.
Well, yeah, and you know, society teaches us to be proactive, or rather reactive versus proactive.
Right.
So we react to a situation instead of taking the time to actually digest that situation and figure out what's going on. Most of the time people strike out or they're verbally outlandish. It's because something is bothering them, not just because they want to get on your nerve. You know, but if you don't take the time to figure out what is causing this issue, then you'll always be at odds with each other. Because, all right, well, you made me angry this time, I'm gonna make you angry the next time. And then what does it solve? We've got nothing accomplished. So you have people in a house, and if you don't have a single focus and a single goal that you're working on, then you're working as individuals. But if we're going to work as individuals, then why are we in the same house?
Good point. Good point. So, Mr. Encourage, I was doing some research, man, before the show. And one thing I found out is, and it's kind of disturbing. And let me put this up here. Okay. Although depression is the second most prevalent illness in the U.S. today, it ranks 68th out of 235 in the amount of federal funding it receives. I thought that was very compelling, man. If depression is the second most prevalent illness, why is it so far on the backside of being handled?
Simple answer. We are taught that it is an ugly thing. And seeing that it's ugly, we are taught to hide it. We are taught to keep it covered. And so when we keep it covered, we push it down. You and I both know in the military, you're frowned upon if you go to the psych.
Correct.
You know, with the platoon sergeant, from the platoon sergeant on up, even your squad members, they frown upon you. Oh, he's got something wrong with him. You better not deal with him, you know. And so what does that tell a person? I don't want to reach out for help because I'm going to be picked on. I'm going to be bullied by those around me. So in that essence of it, it gets pushed to the back until when? The last moment, until a snap comes. Now, when the snap comes, now it's prevalent. Oh, we got to do something about it. We got to do something about it yesterday. Well, we wouldn't be in that rush if we would acknowledge it when it's happening versus letting it fester and then lead to something deeper.
And you're speaking from a man of experience who have led many soldiers, companies, battalions, brigades, and I find it quite eye-opening that we spend so much time and resources on preventive maintenance when it comes to our vehicles, when it comes to our equipment, even when it comes to our physical standard. But when it comes to our mental health, there's no preventive maintenance in the military.
There is none. And so what happens is that our upbringing plays a very important part of this. And this is why I tell people, I want you to discard your denominations in the church and deal
be careful
with your God. Deal with your God on a personal basis, because this is where you're going to find your solitude, your peace, and your comfort. But when you try to deal with the confines of the church, the church is not always helpful.
Pastor, I don't know why you went down that road with me, man. You opened up the door, counselor, for that. And I will say, now that you open the door, church, and let me, I'm gonna be somewhat candid, but I'm gonna be transparent. Church has been an amazing thing, man. But church has also, in my opinion, this is Coach Hightower's opinion, has also been a stumbling block for us when it comes to religion.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as you know, when it comes to religion, there's so many different sects, there's so many different man-made things that have pretty much distorted and twisted the Bible, as well as just there's a lot of customs and courtesies. But when you look into it, man, religion is another form of politics. It's not really for the people. And when you start researching and start understanding, and when you start comparing to how other people outside America practice religion, it's a little different. But as the Black community, I think religion has been a major stumbling block for us. And people can argue with me, I don't give a damn. But ask yourself, besides the spiritual feeding and the nice benedictions, what is the church or what is the religion really doing for you and your family as a whole?
And so, as you say, with religion, and this is the problem that we have, we are so mindset on religion being of a certain sect that we forget all about the spirituality in our relationship with God.
Right.
So we deviate from that. And my other point is that most churches today have become businesses.
Yes.
So when they became about businesses, they have stepped away from the spirituality and from the spiritual healing and from the spiritual encouragement to, I need the dollar. Right. And so what does that do for people? We have people who have been put out of the church because of tithes and offering. We have people that have been put out of church because of the way they dress, because they don't talk the way we do. They don't do the things that we do. So then we have separated ourselves from the spirituality of what church was actually supposed to be.
Right.
And it was never supposed to be a religion, but it was supposed to be about a one-on-one relationship with your God.
And I think we have gotten so far from that, man. And even watching ministers such as yourself, I'm hearing this more and more frequently from many ministers. Many ministers are somewhat backing away from the church and just sticking more with spirituality and just speaking, pretty much speaking a word versus using the old tradition, the old religion, because it's not really moving us forward. It may be moving one or two people forward, but it's not moving us forward overall. And because of that, many have gotten away from God. God is in you. God is within you. The Spirit is within you. You don't need the building. The building is cool, and I think it's great that we can come together. But when you start throwing other things in there and you got other motives, and once again, anytime man has his hands on things, it tends to be distorted. Well, I think we need to keep moving forward with the spirituality, man. And hopefully the church can come back home one day. But the way it's going, the church is so caught up in the politics that they really can't get too far from it unless you just practicing your own religion and you're not taking the 501(c)(3) money from the government.
Yeah, so the concept is that God was never meant to be or should have been even placed in a structured religion. But man sought to do that, to do what? To control the congregation.
Right.
And because I want to do something different from A, I'm going to start B. Well, I don't like what A and B are doing, so I'm going to start C. Right? So then we have all these different sects there. But how is it that we have so many different sects, but we only have one Bible? Right? It's because of the involvement of man, in man's involvement in your relationship and my relationship with our God.
See, just in that alone, as you stated, we got one Bible, and you and I both know there's many Bibles, but there's one Bible that's preached to the masses. And unless you do some further research, you're gonna be stuck with the Bible that they have imposed upon us, which is the King James Version. And when you once again do research on the King James Version, that's a whole nother thing. I can come up with the Coach Hightower's version and put it out there.
That's true.
But we here in America, man, everything has been an illusion to us. And you and I have had the privilege, I guess we can call it a privilege, that we've been able to travel the world, so we've been able to see other spiritualities and religion. But here in America, a lot of things are just of an illusion.
And it is. So if you don't have a relationship with your God outside of the King James Version, outside of the new version, you know, whatever they want to call it, the Thomas Bible, the Schofield Bible,
the NIV,
NIV Bible. Yeah. If you don't have a relationship with your God outside of that, what is it that you really have? Because there's a difference between the Word of God and the essence of God. And anybody can read the Bible, but if there's no essence of God there, then you're just reading words. And how do you get the essence of God? Through your spiritual relationship with God is how you develop that essence. It's not about the words that you're reading, but it's about the spirituality behind the words you're reading.
Exactly. Man. This conversation goes so many ways, man. I'm gonna have to definitely bring you back on because there's more that we have to talk about. And to you all that's listening, man, these is conversations that we have, and usually these conversations go a little bit more in depth. But these is a conversation I have with the majority of the men that call me, man, and we talk about things like this. And I think it's very healthy. More men start conversating about things of essence, such as this, versus what I call bullshit, you know, such as sports. You know, we can talk sports, but there's only so much sports we can talk about, man.
Yeah.
We have to talk about what we can do to move forward, man. And you pretty much covered all my questions, man. But I want to bring you back on. But let me ask you this, man. Cherophobia. I was reading up on cherophobia, and it's when a person has an irrational version of being happy. Mr. Encourage, let me ask you, what is it, or why is it? And it's a very subjective question, but I want to ask based off your experience and people that you have counseled and mentored. Why is it that some people are scared to be happy?
Because they have been taught that if they're happy, someone else is going to be upset. So in order to be one of the masses, you can't show your happiness.
Say that again. Say that again, please.
So they're taught to be happy is to make someone else upset. And because of that, I can't be part of the mass of everyone else. So I'm outcast from that because I'm happy. You know, we talked earlier about the defining peace and happiness. Peace is a state of mind. Happiness is a euphoria you get from that state of mind.
So in your opinion, man, and this is my last question for you. In your opinion, I just got two more questions.
Okay.
Why is there so much unhappiness in the world?
There's a lot of unhappiness in the world. One, because we don't know who we really are.
Ooh, say that again.
We have put on a facade for so many years. We have put on so many different faces. We have faked the funk for so many years that we have forgotten the essence of who we are. And then when we look and finally, if we look and finally find who we are disappointed by the image because we know it's truly not us.
So with that being said, you raised, man, we can go down a bunch of rabbit holes, but I'm gonna keep it simple. You said we don't know, we forgot who we are, but a lot of us don't know who we are.
And that is true because of the facade. society has taught us to fake the funk. You know, what we used to say, fake it till you make it.
Right.
And that's not always a good thing.
Right.
You know, we put on that facade and we let people around us think that we're happy. And this changed back into when you talked about depression. Because of that facade and the faking it, that we try to forget the anguish that we're feeling. We try to forget the inward us and the feelings that we have that are depressing us. So we try to fake it instead of getting help for it. If I fake it, it'll go away.
Wow. Mr. Encourager, man, I want to thank you so much for coming on. But before we let you go, man, give us three tips that people can utilize to find that peace and happiness, or find that little bit of joy that they may be seeking.
One would be to nurture your spirituality. Whatever it may be, whatever it is, find your spirituality. Find your relationship with God. Two would be that understanding that peace is a state of mind. And happiness is a euphoria driven from that. And the last thing would be, in order to be successful in the first two, is to know who you really are. Don't be afraid of who you are. Because if who you are doesn't fit the bill, you at least have the knowledge or a chance to change the outcome. The outcome doesn't change if we don't know who we are. And so we have to know those things. It is very important. Take an honest survey of yourself. You don't need anybody else to tell you. You know when you're doing wrong. You know when you're failing. You know when you're successful. But take an honest survey of yourself and find out who you really are. And in that, you can find the things that will bring you peace. You can find the things that will help to build your happiness in knowing who you are. And you know, as I always say on my program, stay healthy in God.
I like that, brother. Thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate you coming on, Mr. Encourager. You have been a blessing to the Real Men Talk, man. Would love to get you back on in the near future, man.
Oh, for sure. You know, I'm always here to support, brother. You know that.
Man, thank you so much.
You know,
brother.
And for those that would like to find out, I do little inserts on a weekly basis on my page, Faith-Based Ministries on Facebook, and it's not geared towards religion, but it's geared towards spirituality and trying to give you little tidbits that will help you through this journey called life.
Man, thank you very much, brother Greg, for that, man. And I want to challenge you all that's watching the Real Men Talk. Once again, we talk about health and wellness, mindset, and financial literacy. And this segment that is brought to you, man, in regards to health and wellness and mindset. But I want to challenge every man that's out there that's listening, man. Find one thing that you can work on to improve yourself. Whether that's in your finances, whether that's in your relationship, whether it's just in your diet. I want you to find something. And I say that because I talk to a lot of men. And a lot of men tend to be just in this space where they're not really doing that. They're not challenging themselves. And that ends up turning into somewhat going into a depressed state, as well as just withdrawing. So I want to challenge you, encourage you, man, find something to work on. Man, we don't have time to sit around not to be working on a goddamn thing. Yeah, it's cool to relax every now and then, but you have to be working on something, man. That's what we do. We produce, man. So I don't care if you're working on your garden. I don't care if you're working on your car. Find something to work on. And once you accomplish that, man, set another goal. But keep doing something, because we're so far behind, man. As the encourager stated, man, we was talking about peace and happiness. That also turns into about communication. Within our community and within this world, man, we have a major issue with communication. That's just one of many things. So I want to challenge you, man, keep working on something, man. Also with financial literacy, to those who've been tuning in, I've been promoting my notary school. Now, you can go to notaryskill.com. What I'm doing is coaching people how to get the notary license, how to get the commission, how to put yourself out there. I'm also showing you how to notarize and document the different contracts. And I also give you some insight to some other contracts. I had a person ask me, man, what is these contracts you're talking about? Well, within the notary field, man, there's so many different things that you can do within the notary field. Me, I'm that notary that knows all the different ins and outs of making revenue within the industry that most notaries don't have a clue about. I got notaries that's been in the game 10, 20 years that only know about the contracts that I know about. So the contracts I teach you, and in the mini notary courses, just the mini notary course, I only give you a couple of contracts. And then once you're ready, I can put you in my master course that talks about all these other contracts. Matter of fact, I'm about to leave right now because I got a contract I'm about to do right now. But the reason why I'm promoting my notary school, and you can go to notaryskill.com, is I realize many people need more income. Many people don't have time to get another second job. Many people don't have time to go back to school. People got families, they got other things to be taken care of, as well as they're working enough hours. So with the notary course that I'm teaching, I'm about to go do a contract. I just did a contract actually before this meeting, and that contract was a $65 contract. It was only 5 minutes of work, man. I'm about to go do another one that's going to pay $115, only probably 5 minutes of work. So what I'm doing is teaching you a whole new skill set, as well as I'm showing you how to go get these contracts that's not taking up a lot of time. And in the notary industry, man, you can work around the clock if you chose to. There's contracts that you can utilize that you can work at nighttime if you want to. And those contracts I don't take per se. Every now and then I do one. I did one last week. But as you know, when people call you after hours, that price goes up. And with so many houses being sold, so many signing agents and companies are needing mobile notaries. So I want to encourage you, and definitely for those who's looking to supplement their income, it's not going to get you rich. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to get you rich, but it's going to put some money in your pocket, as well as you're not compromising your time. Matter of fact, Mr. Encourager, if you're looking for a notary, he's down there in San Antonio. And he does the same thing. And then he can tell you, man, it don't take a lot of time to do this. Now, I'm going to tell you, it depends on where you at. The work may not be there, but it depends on the contract. I keep stressing that contract. Thank you so much, Sister Shepherd. When you go bring that book out? So proud of you guys for your diligence and helping. Amen. Thank you so much, sister. I greatly appreciate it. And we need you to come out with that book. So I said that because within the Real Man Talk, we practice financial literacy. We coach mindset, as well as we coach health and wellness. So if you know someone that's looking for a career change, are they looking to make some extra money? Definitely, if you have young adults, let me tell you something. This industry actually is very good for young adults, because most young adults really don't want to work 40-hour weeks. They want to make their money, do what they got to do, and get back to their friends and to their lives. So this is another way. It's almost like DoorDash, but once again, it's a little bit more lucrative than DoorDash. And I also got to have a little bit of etiquette, but I teach that inside of the mini notary course. So if you're interested, just go to notaryskill.com, or you can go to coachhightower.com. And actually what I do, if you go to coachhightower.com, it should be a link on there. I put it in there, and you can ask for the contracts, and I will send you a free video of an introduction to the mini notary course, as well as towards the end of that video, you got to pay attention. I'm giving you 6 most utilized contracts in the notary industry. So you're already getting 6 contracts out the door before you even sign up for the class. So if you're interested, hit me up. I would love to help you. But till then, man, y'all stay blessed. Keep your eyes open. As you know, they got things that's going on in the news. When they have things going on in the news, see what's going on behind the scenes. I know right now they got something going on with the January 6th in regards to the Trump thing, but I'm gonna tell you that's kind of a distraction. There's some other things that's going on that they don't want you to see. So keep your eyes open and pay attention. Until then, keep tuning into the Real Man Talk Show, and y'all have a great weekend.